Hi Year 9, this is Miss Pitt. I'm going to do 4 videos for you which will help you with your exam. Okay, so the 4 videos I'm going to do. This is the first one, which is on global warming and acid rain. We'll look at soil pH, conservation of mass, and we're going to review all the word equations that we've covered so far. Okay, so global warming and acid rain. The learning objectives for this video. To be able to explain how acid rain is formed and what causes global warming. Be able to explain the difference between the two. Be able to describe their effects on the environment and know some alternatives to reduce global warming and acid rain. Okay, so if we start off by looking at fossil fuels, okay, global warming and acid rain are caused by fossil fuels, so you need to know the names of the 3 fossil fuels. Okay, so the first one you need to know is coal, the next one is oil, and the last one is gas. So those are the 3 fossil fuels, coal, oil and gas. And if you forget them, it might be helpful to remember the word cog, because that will help you hopefully remember the 3. Okay, now fossil fuels contain certain elements, okay? The first element they contain quite a lot of is carbon, C. They also contain impurities, and these impurities are mainly sulfur and nitrogen. Okay, now when you burn the carbon, when you burn it, produces carbon dioxide. When you burn the sulfur, it produces sulfur dioxide. And when you burn the nitrogen, it produces nitrogen dioxide. Okay, just to mention there, sometimes this is called nitrous oxides because there can be any number of oxygens, but we're just going to stick to dioxide so it's easy to remember. Okay, this is where I'm actually going to separate this page into 2. Okay, because this side here is what causes global warming. So global warming, sometimes called the greenhouse effect. Okay, and the reason why is that carbon dioxide forms a blanket around the earth. Okay, so here's imagine a blanket around the earth of carbon dioxide, and what happens is when the sun's heat comes in from the sun, okay, normally some of it would leave, but that layer of carbon dioxide keeps it in, so it gets caught in the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth will warm up. Okay, I'll say more about that in a moment. Right, if we go over to this side, okay, this produces acid rain. So this side here causes acid rain. And the way that works is the sulfur dioxide is a gas that goes into the air, okay, and that will go up into the clouds. So here's our nice cloud, okay, and that will actually dissolve in the rainwater in the cloud to produce sulfuric acid, H2SO4, that's sulfuric acid. So the sulfur dioxide has dissolved in the rainwater in the cloud to produce sulfuric acid. It's quite weak, but it's still there. The nitrogen dioxide also dissolves in the cloud, okay, in the rainwater, and produces nitric acid, HNO3. That's our nitric acid, okay. So then what happens is that gets blown, okay, across the land, so here it is, and then it will rain down, and that there is the acid rain. Now, to help you remember the difference between the 2, okay, it's the carbon that produces global warming. So if you imagine the G of global warming kind of looks a bit like a C with an extra little bit on, okay. So the C, you can imagine, is the carbon, imagine the G is partly the C, if that makes sense, okay. And the acid rain, if I call it acid rains, because it rains, okay, that will hopefully remind you that N, the last letter there, is the nitrogen to make the nitrogen dioxide, and S is the sulfur to make the sulfur dioxide. So that might help you remember between the 2. Okay, so if we then go back to the computer, okay, we can see here the acid rain formation, the sulfur dioxide and NOx there, okay, nitrogen dioxide mainly. The wind blows it across the land and then it rains as acid rain. Okay, so let's go back to global warming. What are the effects? Okay, so you can see the Earth there in the greenhouse. It is sometimes called the greenhouse effect. And again, you can see the heat coming from the sun, and some of it escapes, but some of it is reflected back towards the Earth. The greenhouse gases trap it in the atmosphere and it warms up the Earth. So what happens because of that? Well, obviously the Earth is going to get warmer. So there might be storms, floods and droughts. The sea levels rise, which means the lands become flooded, so people and animals can lose their habitats. Right, going on to acid rain, the effects of acid rain, okay, it can cause deforestation, so it can affect plants, and it can also wear away buildings like the stonework you can see in that picture there. So when the acid rain lands on soil, it makes the soil acidic. Lakes, because the water will eventually end up in a lake somewhere, the lakes become acidic, and that can harm the animals and plants that live in the lake. Buildings are eroded. A chemical reaction happens between the stone and the acid rain, making them erode, and the deforestation. And what happens is the acid rain lands on the leaves and destroys the leaves. And obviously without the leaves, a plant can't photosynthesize to produce energy. That's where it uses sunlight to make its own food. Okay, so without the leaves, what will happen is the plant will die. Okay, so how can we reduce global warming and acid rain? Well, we can use the renewables. So there are some alternatives. Okay, so we covered this in the physics section. You don't need to know how they work, you just need to be able to name some. So here are the main ones. We've got solar panels, solar energy, wind turbines, hydroelectric, waves, wave power, tidal power, geothermal, and biomass. Okay, so using those alternatives, those renewables, will reduce global warming and acid rain. Okay, so just look at the learning objectives again, just check you can do all of these things now. Explain how acid rain is formed and what causes global warming. Be able to explain the difference between the two. Be able to describe their effects on the environment, and know some alternatives to reduce global warming and acid rain. Okay, so I'll put that diagram up again. I suggest that you pause the video and copy it to help you learn this. Okay, and I will see you in the second video. Thank you.